Jimmy talked some more with the whitefish man, and his face went grave and puzzled. "I think want Captain Alexander," he explained. "Him say kill white man, white woman, white boy, plenty kill white people. Him want to die." "Insane, I guess," said Dickinson. "What you call that?" queried Jimmy. Dickinson thrust a finger figuratively inside his head and imparted a rotary motion thereto. Maybe so, said Jimmy, returning to Imber, who still demanded the chief man of the white men. A mounted policeman, unmounted for Klondike service, joined the group and heard Imber's wish repeated. He was a stalwart young fellow, broad-shouldered, deep-chested, legs cleanly built and stretched wide apart, and tall though Imber was, he towered above him by half a head. His eyes were cool and grey and steady, and he carried himself with the peculiar confidence of power that is bred of blood and tradition. His splendid masculinity was emphasized by his excessive boyishness. He was a mere lad, and his smooth cheek promised a blush as willingly as the cheek of a maid. Imber was drawn to him at once. The fire leaped into his eyes at sight of a saber slash that scarred his cheek. He ran a withered hand down the young fellow's leg and caressed the swelling thew. He smote the broad chest with his knuckles and pressed and prodded the thick muscle pads that covered the shoulders like a cuirass. The group had been added to by curious passers-by, husky miners, mountaineers, and frontiersmen, sons of the long-legged and broad-shouldered generations. Imber glanced from one to another, then he spoke aloud in the whitefish tongue. "What did he say?" asked Dickinson. "Him say all the same one man, that policeman," Jimmy interpreted. Little Dickinson was little, and what of Miss Travis, he felt sorry for having asked the question. The policeman was sorry for him and stepped into the breach. "I fancy there may be something in his story. I'll take him up to the captain for examination. Tell him to come along with me, Jimmy." Jimmy indulged in more throaty spasms, and Imber grunted and looked satisfied. "But ask him what he said, Jimmy, and what he meant when he took hold of my arm." So spoke Emily Travis, and Jimmy put the question and received the answer. "Him say you no afraid," said Jimmy. Emily Travis looked pleased. "Him say you no skookum, no strong, all the same very soft like little baby. Him break you in 2 hands to little pieces. Him think much funny, very strange, how you can be mother of men so big, so strong, like that policeman." Emily Travis kept her eyes up and unfaltering, but her cheeks were sprayed with scarlet. Little Dickinson blushed and was quite embarrassed. The policeman's face blazed with his boy's blood. "Come along, you," he said gruffly, setting his shoulder to the crowd and forcing away. Thus it was that Imber found his way to the barracks, where he made full and voluntary confession, and from the precincts of which he never emerged. Imber looked very tired. The fatigue of hopelessness and age was in his face. His shoulders drooped depressingly, and his eyes were lackluster. His mop of hair should have been white, but sun and weather beat had burned and bitten it, so that it hung limp and lifeless and colourless. He took no interest in what went on around him. The courtroom was jammed with the men of the creeks and trails, and there was an ominous note in the rumble and grumble of their low-pitched voices, which came to his ears like the growl of the sea from deep caverns.